Hello and welcome back to another FPL team selection video. This week we have game week 26 ahead of us. We've got the Friday deadline, so this video will be out a couple hours before the deadline, and we finally have the double game weeks past us for a few weeks now, and it is all focus on the blank game week 29, which if you have been keeping up with the team selections, I'm going to try and make it through without using the free hit, because I'd like to save my free hit for, game week 34, which looks like is going to be a bigger blank. But looking back on game week 25, a week where I actually managed to pick myself up a green arrow, still not back into the top 1 million, which still isn't too great, but we are, slowly making our way back in there, just creeping about the borderline. Emery done really well. Again, most of my points came from, a small selection of players, being Salah, Trent and Emery. Everyone else was in and about the 2 to 5 points kind of range, so not really too bad. Again, benched Jimenez and he got another return, so yeah, it just seems to be the way that things are these days. Jimenez has still got good fixtures, so he is going to be making the starting 11 at some point, which is why I'm not selling him just yet. But yeah, really happy with the way the assistant managers went for myself. Obviously, I had David Moyes in the first round, or in game week 24, and we wanted to get the draw against Liverpool, and that's exactly what happened. Coming in again with Emery this round, I was kind of regretting not going for slot, because, like when I did make the move, but very happy to have went with Emery now. He has just outscored slot. Obviously, I took a -4 last week, which did get Emery in. So in terms of Moyes and Emery versus Arne Slot, I think it's like I want to say an 8-point difference or like a 7-point difference. Obviously, me taking the -4 makes it like a 2 or 3 point difference, so nothing really too huge. Obviously, anyone with slot is probably moving him on this week with the game against Man City away. I've got Unai Emery against Chelsea. I'm going to be keeping Unai Emery against Chelsea as well. I know a lot of people are moving on to someone like Oliver Glasner. He seems to be the popular choice, but I'm looking at 11ify right now. In terms of like win percentage, Palace only have a 28% chance of beating Fulham this week. Obviously, I've got Castagne and Jimenez in my team as well. They're going to be making the starting 11 this week. I really don't want to be going against them. And in all honesty, Fulham are doing really well this season. Obviously, challenging for Europe. I really don't see a world where Palace do pull off a result. Obviously, it's great if they do pick up a draw. Again, you can get another 10 to 14 pointer or so with Glasner. Personally, I just don't see it happening. I've got a transfer in the bank. Whether I want to use it on the assistant manager or not just doesn't really appeal to me too much. I think in terms of table bonus this week, there's not really that much available that I do like, so I'm just going to keep it on Unai Emery. Home match against Chelsea, hoping he can pick up a result. In terms of the fixtures for this week and some potential transfers, we have 6 teams with green fixtures. A couple of them we probably want to look at ignoring. For example, Leicester. It would be a dark day when we bring a Leicester player into our FPL team this season. But Arsenal have a really good fixture this week. They have West Ham at home, although it is followed by some difficult ones after that. So the likes of Ethan Nwaneri, he was definitely high up on my radar this week. He was in the captaincy video as a really good differential captain. Still really like him as a differential captain if you did bring him in this week. He was also in the transfer tips video as a buy. For only 4.5 million, it's a very low risk move, but I'll speak a little bit more about my moves in a little minute. Brighton, another one that I'm really interested in. For example, Minty done really well against Chelsea last week, and Southampton are obviously very weak in defence. Matoma, a really good option as well. So they were 2 options that I really did like the look of, but again, as someone who isn't free hitting in game week 29, I need to kind of try and build my team to have a full 11 of players that have good fixtures in game week 29, and unfortunately Brighton just isn't one of those with Man City away. Had it been any of the 3 fixtures around it, Bournemouth at home, Fulham at home, Villa at home, I probably would have highly considered bringing in a Brighton midfielder this week, but I don't want to bring one in and then be stuck with them against Man City away from home in game week 29. Bournemouth, of course, continuing the run of good fixtures. Again, the triple up is looking really good at this point. Whether you've got Semenyo, Dango, Kluivert, Kerkez, Huijsen, all really good picks. Great fixture this week against Wolves at home. great fixtures going forward. Brighton and Spurs a little bit more on the difficult side, but Brentford at home and Ipswich at home in game week 29 and 30. And obviously they're playing really well as well, so even with the semi-difficult fixtures against Brighton and Spurs, you could definitely expect something from them. We've also got Spurs in here who have Ipswich away, and any other probably season you would be trying to get some Spurs players in. 2 home fixtures following that against Man City and Bournemouth. However, there just isn't really anyone looking too good from Spurs right now. Kulusevski's a bit meh. Son's been poor all season. I suppose Matthias Tell is looking like a differential that a couple of people are going for, but for me, just the fixtures aren't really too great after this week, and it's Spurs, they could end up losing to Ipswich, and I wouldn't even be surprised this week. So ignoring Spurs, at all costs at this point. Leicester, of course, we don't even have to speak about them. And then Brentford as well. Mbeumo, a really, really good pick. Wissa looks like a really nice option this week. Again, another good differential captain if you wanted to go against Salah this week. Obviously, Wissa doesn't have the penalties. That does go to Mbeumo, which is why he could be a little bit further down the pecking order in terms of captaincy options. But really nice fixtures. 27, he's got Everton at home. 28, he has Villa at home. And then a decent fixture in 29 against Bournemouth away. I think for everyone who isn't on the free hit in 29, we're going to end up with a lot of Brentford and Bournemouth players playing against each other. I think I could end up with 3 and 3, have the triple up of Bournemouth and the triple up of Brentford when it comes to 29, but obviously we can wait and see with that. But again, Bournemouth and Brentford are probably looking like the 2 best teams to go for, for future match days as well as this week. So as it stands this week, I'm actually looking to roll the transfer. I think I mentioned last week that I was looking to bring in Mbeumo potentially for a hit, and Trent would be the other one to come out to afford that. Now looking at the team, over the last week or so, I'm thinking I don't really want to, I'm kind of doubting myself in making that hit because of the fixtures that my team currently has. So it's one of those situations where, if in doubt, don't do anything. So my attackers, Salah against City, Palmer against Villa, Bruno with a good fixture against Everton, Kluivert a good fixture against Wolves, my whole front 3 with really nice fixtures as well. Do I really want to be taking a -4 in a week where I have a very playable team? And I've just thought, I'm just going to leave it. So I definitely want to get Mbeumo in. I just think I'm going to leave it until next week. Again, very worried that he does well against Leicester this week and I do miss out. Obviously, I would rather have Mbeumo in my team than the likes of Bruno Fernandes, but Bruno has Ipswich next week and he has Leicester in game week 29, so he's someone that's going to have to stay in my team until the wild card, and I wouldn't be able to afford Mbeumo unless I took either the -4 or sold off Bruno Fernandes. So that's what we're doing this week. We're not going to make any moves. I'm going to have 2 free transfers next week, and at that point I think I'll be taking out Rodgers and Trent, which was going to be this week's plan. Instead of taking a -4, I'll just do it for free next week. For Trent, the replacement, at the minute I'm eyeing up Cucurella. He's got very nice defensive stats. He's got Southampton at home and Leicester at home in game week 27 and 28, and then a bit more of a difficult fixture against Arsenal away in game week 29, which is why I'm still a little bit iffy on that transfer. But he's still a really nice option, potential clean sheets over the next few weeks. So I'm still looking at it. That would be the way to afford Mbeumo anyways from Rodgers, would be moving off of Trent, obviously not having a fixture in game week 29, so I'm going to get rid of him and then potentially bring him back on a wild card at a later date. Speaking of Trent, there is a little bit of a bench dilemma in there. You might have been looking at the team thinking, why are you starting Castagne over Alexander-Arnold? Well, putting them up against each other. In terms of clean sheet odds, Fulham are, almost double what Liverpool are for clean sheet odds. Obviously, that's what you want from your defenders, so Castagne takes a big advantage there. In terms of the return chance, however, Trent does take the big lead with 10% more chance of returning than Castagne. Castagne just hasn't really been too great. I do wish I went for Robinson. It does feel like another situation where all those weeks ago I went for Alex Moreno instead of Aina, and now Aina's like an extra million when I went for Moreno to save like 0.1. And then I've kind of done the same thing with Castagne and Robinson. If I had just went for Robinson, I'd have 1, a lot more points, and 2, you know, I'd have saved up a lot more money as well. But it is what it is. We've got Castagne and we've just got to deal with that. For predicted points, it is fairly close. Trent is still leading just that little bit by, you know, 0.5 of a point. Expected minutes, Castagne has the extra minutes, and Trent is obviously a little bit susceptible for an early sub for someone like Connor Bradley. We have seen him being subbed around the 60th minute for Bradley, which is what puts me off him a little bit. In terms of chances conceded as well, Palace have a lot more chances conceded down the right hand side than Manchester City do. So Castagne, despite not having the same attacking threat as Trent does, could potentially, you know, get forward and hopefully get one of his first attacking returns since I have owned him. So based on that, minutes, chances and clean sheet odds, I have decided to go for Castagne this week over Trent. Could be a big flop, but it is what it is. I'd rather go take the home fixture as well and gamble on Castagne this week. The other bench dilemma being Bruno Fernandes versus Morgan Rogers, and just looking at the stats alone, Bruno has a big advantage despite playing away from home this week than Morgan Rogers. The only thing Rogers has over Bruno is that extra 3% chance of picking up a goal, which isn't enough for me to change my whole, you know, team around to go for Rogers instead. Bruno has that little bit extra return chance. Obviously he has the assists as well, tiny bit extra predicted points as well with only 0.4 ahead. The same expected minutes, both expected to play 90 minutes, and the chances conceded, Everton obviously a much worse defence than Chelsea have been so far this season. So Bruno also has the penalties, which does give me another reason to go for Bruno instead, and I kind of just need Bruno, you know, to start returning. It's been a while since he's done anything. To be fair, it's the same with Rogers in FPL. He doesn't seem to be getting anything in every other match, you know, cups and Champions League. He seems to be doing really well, but FPL he's just been a little bit of a disappointment. So for this week, going to go for Bruno Fernandes, and that's pretty much what wraps up the team for this week. So Salah's going to be the captaincy. I was very tempted to go for like a Wisa, but if Wisa had the penalties, I probably would have went for him, but I don't want to go against the penalty takers. Kluivert was another option who I was considering, but I'd rather not go against Mohamed Salah. Obviously this is a week where you could go for a differential captain, and in my case, finally shoot myself back into the top 1 million, but if that doesn't work, you know, Salah's only blanked 4 times this season. If Salah goes in hauls against Man City, I could easily find myself, you know, towards 2 million rather than 1 million. So I'm playing it safe this week with Salah. Hopefully the rest of my team can do quite well. Again, a lot of home fixtures in defence this week, so a clean sheet and a couple of those would be really nice. So let me know, do you agree with the benchings? Would you also roll in this situation as well? Let me know if you're making any transfers this week. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you all in the next one.